Welcome to Safe and Sound, sponsored by White Mountain Fire and Life Safety. Today on the show, we have David Sargent, Chief of Pine Top Lakes Police Department. Welcome to the show.
How are you doing?
Good, and congratulations.
Good. Thank you very much.
That's pretty exciting. When did this happen? I mean, it was just recently, right?
The beginning of April, I took over as interim, and then April 21st I was sworn in, and April 22nd became the first day that I was actually the Chief of Police there.
That's awesome. So I wanted to save this for the show, but let's go where you started. I want your career from the beginning to the end to become chief, because you can't really go past that.
Well, I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the top.
Not in the law enforcement, I mean, but when I came to Arizona, I had 13 years of law enforcement in Utah. I was a deputy sheriff for Salt Lake County. And I came here and started when I came to Arizona, because my better half is from Arizona. And there was an incident that happened in Salt Lake County where I was almost killed in a training accident. So we actually had to step away for a couple of years. I was in bed for 2 years. Then when it's hard to even talk about, but we were, and when I say we, because I had to have that partnership there, it was very much a we thing. Almost overnight healed. It was a very debilitating injury, and one that I was told you'll never work gainfully employed again. So the fact that we were healed in the way that we were was really amazing. I wish that we had some time to talk more about that. But what happened is when we put our applications back in, seeing that we're getting our health back, we put a whole bunch of applications back in the Salt Lake Valley where I was, and the agency that I was with. And then because we'd come up here so many times for vacation, and every single time we came up here, the vacations got longer and longer and longer, and we didn't want to leave. We thought, well, we'll throw an application in up there too and see what happens. We'll go wherever we get called first. And Pine Top Lakeside called first. So when I came to Pine Top Lakeside, I had to be employed as a police aide because Utah's peace officer certification doesn't cover Arizona. You have to take that knowledge that you had in Utah and go challenge the Arizona test. It's so you can get a waiver. So we had enough academy time, we had enough training, but you have to jump through the hoops of testing to show that you have the knowledge. And so I first started as a police aide with Pine Top Lakeside. One of the things that you have to do is pass a physical, and I sprained an ankle playing basketball in the gym, getting ready for all of this. So at the time I said, well, I'll go in and I'll work dispatch. So I even got to work dispatch, and within a couple of weeks, because in Salt Lake County they baptize you by fire up there. Every deputy has to come in and do a full shift at least once a year in dispatch, and the dispatchers are merciless. They will put you on the radio and they'll let you sit there and sweat right through it. So there you're managing, anywhere from 10 to 15 deputies on any one frequency. So managing a couple of officers on a frequency is a little easier, except here you also have to field 911 calls while you're doing that. So it's not as easy as it sounds. Kudos to our dispatchers all over in the White Mountain area that are doing that. After I did a brief stint in dispatch, then I was able to finish that challenge and completed my physical, got my Arizona Peace Officer certification, and started as an officer, promoted to sergeant a year later. Was a sergeant for a long time. There's a lot of interesting.
Love that.
Yeah. Then it went lieutenant sergeant, commander sergeant, and chief sergeant. So had a lot of good experiences at Pine Top Lakeside. I've had a lot of good mentors, and we're glad that we ended up where we are.
I'm in the certified program manager class with ASU right now, and with leadership, and it talks a lot about leadership. And one of the things that I've always liked is the fact that I'm growing from the bottom up. and like you had done in your career and are doing is you started at the bottom, which is awesome because you have you take a piece of every one of those positions with you so that you can relate to those people and you don't forget them.
You know, you really do, because when you hear the heartache of a dispatcher, you can commiserate with that. You understand that because you were there. And while I didn't, by any means do even an entire year in dispatch, I was in there for a couple of months, and I was in there by myself. After 2 or 3 days of field training, hey, you look like you got this. We went on vacation for Thanksgiving, and I said, yeah, go enjoy time with your family. And
Thanksgiving.
So, yeah, Thanksgiving was my trial by fire in dispatch after a few days of training in there. So the other side of that, the leadership side of that, is our last Chief Wheeler did a lot of mentoring with not just the commanders, but the sergeants in the agency and our line officers and our dispatchers. And so when he walked out the door and I stepped in that role, it was seamless transition. And that's one thing that Linda Walker's our executive assistant to the chief, made a comment that, man, that's the smoothest thing that I've ever seen happen in the police world, and she's been through 3 or 4 chiefs. So all of the things that have to change, and nobody knows what to expect when a new chief comes in, but when you're coming out of the ranks and everybody's worked with you and knows, and we say, this is what the vision was. I have no desire to change the vision because the direction that we're headed is the right direction and a good direction. Let's just do more to facilitate us getting there quicker. We're at peace where we are.
Well, and you were part of that vision from the beginning when, all of you guys as a group moving forward.
Well, maybe. Yeah. Well, in some roles. Yeah. We boots on the ground as a patrol officer. I tried to do my part. As a sergeant, I tried to do my part, and right on up.
And again, I'm going to refer to CPM class because I'm so excited learning all this stuff. But that's like succession planning.
It is.
You seamless with succession planning.
And having seen it, I've never seen that actually take place that way. I've heard a lot, and in leadership classes they teach you about succession planning and the importance of looking out over the horizon and preparing for what is on the other side of that horizon before it gets here, so that you have that seamless transition. I think that should be done not only with the chief of police position, but with management positions in the town.
Absolutely.
Because when you mentor people into those positions, those people know what the town's like. They've been on the ground level in the town. They're more in tune with where the direction that the town's going, and we're good with the direction. And so let me throw this out there. I came from a metro agency, 750 sworn when I started. Much different attitude in policing. There was a very professional organization, but we were going call to call to call. For the most part, we had downtime. It wasn't like Phoenix. We weren't dealing with things like Phoenix on as regular a basis. But when you come to the White Mountains, you come to a small rural town, people expect you to treat them like family, because in a small town you are family. And I think that that's the way that we should do policing, is that we get involved with the community. We treat the community as our family, and we, as we've talked before with Blue Courage on here, we give everybody as much respect as they will allow us to give them, without jeopardizing officer safety.
Absolutely, and with that, it's internally how you treat each other, and it's externally how you treat the community, and it should be reciprocated from the community as well.
And often it is.
Yes.
We have instances every once in a while that aren't that doesn't quite happen that way, and it usually turns out to be a miscommunication issue.
We'll just call those ones the Flatlanders. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Hate to put you out like that, but yeah, I just say, oh, Phoenix is here. But I'm an advocate for succession planning at the county level. They're not doing it yet, or in public health doesn't do it, but you invest in your employees and you invest in your people who are already passionate about what they're doing, or else they wouldn't be there. And you have, everyone needs to realize, a lot of people do, and I'm glad that you guys did, your people have talents, and your people have things that you can, like you said, you were mentored, your group was mentored to continue where you are. That mentorship can be recreated everywhere. And now, instead of paying lots of money to start somebody brand new and trying to
That's
teach
right.
them and train them and all this stuff,
And not knowing what you're going to get.
and not knowing what you're going to get or what's going to work out or not, because like you said, we are a small town. It doesn't matter how big we get. We have a small town mindset, which isn't a bad idea.
No, I don't think that it is at all.
It's being neighbors. It's knowing each other, and that's the mindset we want to keep. It doesn't matter how big we get, as long as we have, I'm going to know you. You're going to know me. We're going to know our neighbors, and we're going to know who lives here, who our summer people are, who our full-time people are, and with that, not everybody can live in that area. Not everybody can acclimate to that.
That's true, and that's you said something about Flatlanders. So when I was a Flatlander in another valley, I seldom, even our homes where we had repeat issues and repeat problems, because the jurisdiction and your car number changed and you moved around so much, you had to stay in a patrol division for half a dozen years before you really started to see, if you were floating between those positions, where your problem houses were. In a small town where there's only 2 of you on, and you don't bounce around to a different area in the county that you're patrolling, you're staying in that area, the whole town is your area, you get to know very well where your trouble spots are. You get to know very well the citizens that can be counted on to assist you, and maybe the citizens that can't. And even though those citizens are there, we still give them as much respect as anybody else. When you talked about the Flatlanders coming up, this may be our opportunity to interact with somebody who, like when I was in a metro, I'll tell you, I come to your house to take a report on a burglary at your house. I take the report and I forward it, and I have no idea what happened after that. And so it's personal, and we try to be as personable as we can and to give tips on how to not have this happen again. But it gets turned over to a detective, and we never ever hear what the end of that is, unless it's a very high profile case that we're involved in from beginning to end. Up here, officers are often involved from beginning to end in the fruition of the case. And so we get to see a side of victims that you don't necessarily get to see when you're just going from call to call to call and not following it through.
And that is, I like that better. I mean, with the fire department, I liked knowing what happened. If we set somebody off an airplane, we didn't get that information out. We'd actually have to call. Are they okay? Do you just want to know that they're okay?
Yeah. What's the disposition on this?
Yeah. You don't need to tell me what their injuries are or who their doctor is. Just let me know that they made it there okay. Mm-hmm. And because you, as a police officer, as a fire department, anybody who goes to those calls, you become concerned, no matter what
Sure.
the call is.
And that's just it. Smaller agency, not with another call pending necessarily. We can take that time and we can establish that relationship. And the motto of our agency is building relationships of trust. That's what we're trying to do with every contact that we have.
And that plays into the Blue Courage and,
Yep.
and that moving forward. And
Yep.
and we're hoping that other agencies see this Blue Courage as an opportunity for them to.
And I think the White Mountains have actually responded well to that. So I'm not really concerned about the White Mountains. I think we have good law enforcement agencies around us in the White Mountains.
Yeah, we're very blessed, and to know a lot of them, and it's not by speeding tickets. It's by just.
Oh yeah.
Well, because you see the law enforcement everywhere at the 4th of July fairs, at different events. I mean, I know that when you guys do your DUI checkpoints, when we get checked, especially when it's over by Pine Top, the country club, right there.
In front of Game and Fish on the highway.
Yes, in front of Game and Fish. There's been several times where Rob and I are in the car dropping off the kids at my mom's so she can watch them, and we can go out, and we'll stop, and we know half the people there.
Yep.
Hey, what's going on? Whether they're with NCSO or Sholo, or because you get everybody together for that.
Yep. In fact, we don't have enough officers up here to run a checkpoint and provide patrol services for all the jurisdictions.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
Each agency throws 3 to a half a dozen officers at that checkpoint, and then we usually pull up a squad from DPS out of the valley to help us. And that helps too. They get to come up here and see how we do policing up here, and
be a little jealous.
Yeah,
of
we've
the
had
area.
some people that have said, "Well, I kind of like it up here." Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then having those relationships with your different agencies way down there, that's a cool thing to be able to develop. And yeah,
We've started to do that with our Fall Festival Parade. We'll pull up motors from Cottonwood, pull up motors from DPS.
Oh, all the way out to Cottonwood?
Yeah,
even?
for the last couple of years, we've pulled in motors from Cottonwood, pulled in motors from DPS, and they love to come up here.
And their agencies are like, heck yeah, let's just do this.
Well, they're on the other side of that. If they needed something, we would send
somebody to them.
Yeah, and we've done that. If an agency calls our agency and needs help, absolutely, without question, we'll do all that we can to provide that help.
That is cool, and then they get up here in the nice, cool.
Yep.
I'm sure that people would sign up for that if everybody really.
Yeah, we've kind of had the last couple of years the same guys get
Oh, they're not telling anybody, oh, don't go up there.
But
oh,
that
it's
makes
horrible.
it good too, because you know, they know what we're expecting and what we need. And the first year they were kind of not sure where they stood with things, but after they've done it for a couple of years, it's just like, oh, hey, here's our cousin who happened to just go down there and work with Cottonwood for a while, now up here to work with us, and a good working relationship.
I love building networking with other agencies. It's like I just love sitting down and talking to them and figuring out what they're doing. I did that with the White Mountain Apache tribe just yesterday. I sat down and had a conversation with them and wanted to know, you know, what were their issues that they were facing, and then I let them know, wow, those are the same exact issues we're facing. It doesn't matter whether you're on the reservation or not. And we got in, and they had different agencies there, and it was just so exciting because you learn something new every time. You look at things a little bit differently, or learn a trait or a talent that you never thought you had or would have thought about, like to fix something.
Yep.
You know, and I'm sure that everybody that comes together, it seems like maybe a little party in a way, because you know, there's little jokes there's having fun during the DUI checkpoint, because it's not everybody's drunk. That's not, we're doing good, right?
No, going through that checkpoint, as much advertising as we do on it, we still end up anywhere from 3 to 7 people who come through there. One year I just have to laugh. Car rolled up to the stop sign, the window come down, and marijuana smoke just billowing out the window. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Well, didn't see any of the signs. All of a sudden, there's a stop sign in the middle of the highway. That was a problem.
Yeah. But, there's your sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
yeah, that would not be the best choice for that group of people.
But overall, what is good about what the White Mountain DUI Task Force has done is, we haven't seen, in about 2009, 2010, we saw a huge drop-off in local DUI arrests. And I was going, gosh, what is this? What is this? What is this? We didn't know if it was officers going out and not finding intoxicated people, or if it was the public responding, or what was it? Did the dynamic change somehow? And I got with Sergeant Swanee at DPS, and we started looking at numbers back and forth, and their numbers looked like our numbers. And then we started watching that year to year to year, and it's from about 2010, it's stayed consistent that we're down about 60 to 66% on our local DUI arrests. So people that are living in the White Mountain areas have got the message and are actually partnering with us. Then you have people like Safe Ride
Yes.
who've come up here. The taxi cabs exploded when the task force started. We had one cab, and now we've got several, because people are taking the designated drivers. They're taking another way home rather than risking rolling the bones, the motto of the task force. Rather than taking that risk, they're being responsible in their choices. What we're trying to do now is bump that up even more, because you look around the state, and after going down and sitting with people at the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, in the brief amount of time that we're operating, to see a 60 to 66% drop off like that doesn't happen very often. Just doesn't happen very often.
I'm glad it did. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, it shows something's right. I know that I have an event this weekend where I'm going with a girlfriend, and we're going to go to Salt, and we're just going to have some girl time, and then we're going to the Roger Klein event. And the rule is my husband is going to drop us off and then take us to Lionsden after, and then take us home. Now, we're not going out, and I'm like, well, because I have to work the next day at
Sure.
the community garden. I go and garden and stuff. But I'm like, I don't go out to get, I'm going to get smashed, I need a DD. No, but I plan on having a couple glasses of wine, or, you know, and then maybe a cocktail at the Lionsden, and that's enough to where I definitely should not be behind the wheel. So he's DDing for us.
Yeah, and the rule on that is that if you feel a buzz at all, you're probably impaired.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
And I even told my girlfriend, I said, look, we'll pick you up from your house, drop you off, we'll just call Rob, he'll come get us, and we'll do that. And I think more of that is being instilled in the younger generations too, because I remember in high school, when I was going through high school, drinking and driving was huge. All the campaigns out there and the people who died. And I remember this girl came to our school and talked, and she was trapped in a car and got burnt from the head to toe by a drunk driver.
Wow.
And, oh yeah, and it kind of, and you see this, and you don't want people to go through that.
No.
You don't want to. I would. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I would do if I had caused that type of injury to someone else.
You know, that kind of education is still going on up at Blue Ridge at least once in the 4-year cycle. We will do a crash reenactment where we actually land a helicopter, we have it all staged, we get all the kids out there, we pull the sheet back, and here's the scenario. And then we respond to it as if it was a real call, end up landing a helicopter, end up putting a patient on that helicopter, and then we give, and actually, I believe it was last year, they actually had a funeral service afterwards. So
Oh,
it was,
wow.
yeah, and when this is going on, you can hear a pin drop outside. So in the stands where the students are watching this. So I think that message is getting across too, because when before the task force started, you had parties going all over in the woods.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's stopped, but it's not what it was.
No, it's more responsible.
not what it was.
People are actually, and kids are taking on some responsibility, being the responsible one to make sure their friends are okay or whatever that is.
Well, and now Blue Ridge, for the last several years, and Sholo as well, do graduation lock-ins. And so
that's good.
Yeah, so on graduation night, to try to avoid that from happening and taking place, kids can go to the high school and lock themselves in, and usually law enforcement's there and a whole bunch of different people from the community, and it's just kind of a game night and a education night, and kids stay up all night. And up at the at the Blue Ridge lock-in, the sheriff's office posse comes and cooks breakfast for everybody in the morning. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so you get buy-in from everybody to keep our kids safe on graduation night. I think that message carries over.
Absolutely. Then that's brilliant that the community can come together and be that and innovative and helping the kids still have a good time, but keeping them safe at the same time.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
And that's what our town's about. You know, our community's about. We are, again, we're a small community, but you know, we're in the mind, but we are rather large,
and growing larger every day.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for the time.
Yeah, and thank you for all you do. And again,
watch your speed out there. It's July, and you know the rains possibility and aggressive driving. Let's keep that to a minimum.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And you'll eventually get to Pine Top in an hour. Just
it's only a minute longer. Usually it's only a couple minutes longer.
It is. I have to watch that as well, because I am always like, But remember, you know what? These are the people that contribute to our community during the summer. This is when those businesses make money and they're able to live up here, and we want everybody to have that opportunity, definitely. So I am so excited to say Chief Sergeant. That is the coolest thing ever.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your time here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and of course we will have you on here again.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for watching Safe and Sound, and we'll be with you next month.